Okay, so good evening, dear all. We are so excited to see so many people joining today's special webinar, and it gives me an immense pleasure, yes, to introduce our speakers today. And as you know, the topic of our today's webinar is Flex. Is just Flex program, which is super popular in Tajikistan, and also just every year, lots of new members of Flex program participate in this program, and then they become the alumni, and then they open a new chapter in their life, which is so exciting. And with great pleasure, let me introduce our speakers today. So we have today as speakers, Mr. Matthew Mulhern, the Executive Director of American Councils in Tajikistan, and Mr. Matthew Mulhern joined the dynamic and very active American Council's Dushanbe, Tajikistan office as an executive director in June 2023. And he previously worked for American Councils from 2001 into 2014, primarily in the Flex Program Administrative Office in Moscow, Russia, although he served for a year as American Council's country director of Turkmenistan. So most recently, he was working for a startup university, Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technology, which was created and worked in partnership with Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, which is super famous in the world. And in the very early 90s, Matthew first spent a year in the Baltics teaching English and then became a Peace Corps volunteer in Turkmenistan, part of the second group of volunteers in the country, and the first to be placed outside of the main cities. He remained in Turkmenistan at the end of service and worked on a UNDP training project for civil servants and community leaders for an additional 3 years. Matthew has lived in 8 countries and has visited approximately 45 others. He received his Master's of Public Affairs from School of Public and Environmental Affairs at Indiana University Bloomington, which is my alma mater too. Yeah, so this is so exciting. Thank you, Mr. Matthew, for joining. And also let me introduce our next speaker. I think Farangis is quite known person in Tajikistan because she has been running a Flex program as a coordinator for several years. And let's greet Farangisi Hotam. She serves as a Flex program coordinator and USANT program manager. And with her background in international economics from Tajik State University, she joined American Councils in 2019. Her role involves facilitating student opportunities to travel to the US, live with American host families, and study in American schools. Hey guys, get to know Farangis. And also as a Flex alumni herself, she already knows how it's, fascinating to go through this Flex program. She cherished her experience living with a host family in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 2008-19. Farangis, sorry if I just mispronounced this name, but anyway, and she described this period of her time as profoundly transformative. Her journey through Flex sparked her interest in project management, development aid, and provided a diverse perspective on various sectors. In addition, she has contributed her skills as a project assistant in the Tempest project, a project officer in the Volunteer Service Overseas Organization, and as a technical assistant for UNDP and GAF projects. Additionally, she dedicated several years to supporting various projects at the NGO Gurdoparit. So she's passionate about exploring new destinations, cuisines, and cultures, and she also enjoys hobbies like swimming and horse riding. Her guiding principle is Nelson Mandela's timeless quote, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So exciting and so emotional, so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And with
Nasima.
great pleasure, I'm giving the floor to our speakers. So, dear audience, please jump in and ask your most interesting questions to our speakers and grab this Flex opportunity. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a presentation that we're going to pull up. It's coming up right now. So welcome to our talk about the Flex program. Thank you very much, Nasiba, for having us and for welcoming us and making me feel so good about myself and a little old. But yes, at least yes, we can share that proper moment with Indiana University, which is a wonderful place. So we're going to talk about Flex. Flex, I worked for American Councils previous to Tajikistan, as you heard, and I worked only on the Flex program in a regional setting. So I worked across all the countries on the program and was intimately involved, especially with this period, the recruitment period. We think it's a fantastic program, naturally speaking, but it's also one of the bedrock programs that we run on behalf of the embassy, but also Department of State, who funds the program. Flex gives an amazing opportunity, and to that portion of the population where it really makes the most sense, where it has the biggest impact, that is with high school students. Right? There's one thing to go on an exchange program, when you're a bit older as a professional or even as a university student, but you really, really take in the experience in a whole different way when you do so in your impressionable teenage years. And it's just something you can see when we send off the groups, which we're doing right now. We've sent off 2 groups of finalists on their program year. We have 1 more to go. They're leaving this weekend. And then when we welcome them back next May or June, whenever their return flight is. Okay, so let's share a little bit about the Flex program, what it is, a little background, and then we'll get into the technical aspect, because we're hoping that many of you can help share the process of how to register, how to apply online, because the first rounds are done online. And sometimes, some of the students out there, they're a little bit intimidated by the application. There are a lot of words. It's very formal. It's very exact and detailed, but really with a little bit of time and effort, it's not impossible. And every year, students go on the program. This year we had 35 finalists. We expect next year to have the same amount. So we welcome everyone to try. Next slide, please. Or is that for me? No, I can't control it. Farangis, next slide, please. Okay. Bear with us one moment, please. Okay, well, I'll keep talking while Farangis gets back. So basically, what is Flex? Flex is a cultural exchange program. It's very important that it's presented not as an academic program. I mean, yes, the students will go to a US high school, but the idea is that they are understanding the United States better. They're understanding the people, the values, the traditions, and so forth. And they're learning that by going to a school with their peers, creating the friendships that hopefully will last them a lifetime, as many alumni can attest. Farangis will go and see her old host family and visit with some of the old friends from that period next week when she takes a group to the United States. But you also live with that host family. So you are experiencing family life as close as you can in the United States. We place students in a number of settings, including, if you give me a moment, I see that I can now share my, oh, no, now it's coming back. Okay. Farangis, go back 1 slide, please. 1 more. Okay. So that was the introductory slide. So again, it's all about that living with a host family and going to a school to really understand the culture of the United States as well as you can. The creator of the program, next slide, please, was a senator, Bill Bradley. He is a fascinating man in his own right, and he's really quite enjoyable to listen to. He often comes back for different Flex events, different Zoom webinars that are run. I just caught one in May with him. And you know, he's a bit elderly now, but you can just tell that this program meant a lot to him. You know, politicians sponsor all sorts of bills, but he felt very passionately about setting this up. You can see the year, it was in 1992. So obviously, soon after a huge world change happened, right? That affected Tajikistan as well. And so he decided, you know, that the best way to have these communities of people, especially back then, get to know one another and really sort of create those bonds of understanding between the countries was by concentrating on the young people, right? By having these high schoolers go and learn about America, but also share about their own cultures, that then there would be a little bit more dialogue, a little bit more understanding between the peoples. We just celebrated this past summer our 30th anniversary. We had a nice big gala celebration. The ambassador was there. We brought in a large number of alumni, about 120 or 110, I think, altogether appeared from all generations, even going all the way back. Although, yes, it was a little heavy on the more fresh alumni, but it was wonderful to see and hear all the stories. Next slide, please. So these are the formal goals of the program. Much of it I've already said, but these are the ones that are written into sort of like the law, the federal regulations that govern the program. So it is to gain that understanding of American society, its culture, its values, aspects of American life, such as diversity and respect for others and respect for different views, to generate those ties. To make sure that it's just not a one-off on that year, but maybe to keep those friendships and those bonds, whether it was made in the school or with the family, through the years and through the decades, if possible. And that third point, it says to teach about your home country and culture. That's really one of the really rich benefits of this program, because our students are placed all over the United States, but primarily in smaller communities. So it's small towns, you know, whether it's in the Plains states or in the Midwest, or even out in California or New York State, but they're smaller communities, sometimes really, really quite small, rural areas, let's say. Now, in America, usually they bring together and have every school is not small, right? They're usually quite large, so they'll bring in students from all over to come into that school. But it's probably the first time in many communities where they're going to meet individuals, not just from another community, but from Tajikistan, right? And so our students, our participants, are able to share their culture, to share about the Tajik language, Tajik traditions. You know, here you see a couple of photos, like, of course, always bringing souvenirs, whether it's the hats or different dress or so forth to share there. But it's in order to have Americans also understand a little bit more about the world around them. Then, of course, the other aspects have to do with understanding about U.S. civil society, like how things are run and work in the United States. And then, ultimately, all these alumni appear, right, when they come back from program, and they share what they've learned, or they just are more invigorated or passionate about doing whatever they choose to do in life, which a lot of them, it has to do with education and sharing what they've learned. We have over 1,000 Flex alumni who have completed the program from Tajikistan, so it's not a small number over those 30 years. Okay, next slide, please. And so really, again, it's that individual contact, right? So here are many, many words just really to break down and say individuals are coming together, whether from the United States and from Tajikistan, and sharing with one another and understanding one another better. Many, many, many world leaders have gone on exchange programs, whether as high school students or later as university students. And they typically say it's had one of the most lasting and positive impacts on their life. It certainly gives everyone who does such a program much greater perspective on everything, on themselves, first of all, but also of where they've come from, and then what they involve themselves later on. So it's a very powerful program that you often hear from the stories that are told by the participants, even years and years later. You know, during our pre-departure orientations, we invite alumni out, some from previous generations, and it's always amazing to see how their eyes light up They get super excited talking about something that might have happened maybe 10 years ago, just because it had such a deep impact, much different from, say, going on a vacation, last year to wherever, even if it was very, very nice. So that is the program in general, but now we really want to see, how do your students, how can they apply? What are the practical steps? So now Farangis will pick it up and tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Matthew. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yes.
1 minute. Yeah. Sorry, having some technical issues. Мышка что-то. Oh, okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Farangisi Hotam, and I am the Flex Program Coordinator here in Tajikistan. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Special thanks to EWB program and to Nasiba for hosting us today. And before I start talking about the specifics of the Flex program, I want to thank Matthew for providing us with a comprehensive overview of the program's goals and mission. So now I will focus on the details of the recruitment process for the Flex program. I will cover the eligibility requirements, what the scholarship provides and what is not provided, and how students can apply. I also will talk about different stages of the application process and mainly about rounds 1, 2, and round 3. So we will start about the eligibility requirements. So in order to participate in the Flex program, you have to be enrolled in 11th grade of secondary school in fall of 2024 and apply from Tajikistan at the time of application. So which means you have to study at the school in Tajikistan, even if you are a Tajik citizen, but you live abroad, you study abroad, unfortunately, you're not eligible. So you have to be in Tajikistan by the time when you apply, and you have to study in Tajik school. Another requirement is you have to meet the J1 visa service age requirements for high school students, which means basically you have to be born on or after February 15th of 2007 and on or before December 31st of 2008. And of course, about the academic performance, you have to have an academic standing of good or better, which means your academic performance needs to be like the grades in Tajikistan. When you consider the grades, your transcript should be like 4 or 5. But yeah, so another aspect is the English knowledge of the English language. So all of the applicants, they must demonstrate English proficiency in order to apply. So it has to be intermediate or upper intermediate, but not less than elementary level. And of course, you have to be a citizen of the Flex country, which means in Tajikistan, you have to be a citizen of Tajikistan. So there are some aspects of ineligibility, and you cannot apply for the Flex program if you have stayed in the US for more than 3 months in the past 5 years. So in the past 5 years, if you have traveled to the US, let's say on a tourist visa, but you have stayed more than 3 months, you are not eligible to apply. And another requirement is that if you and your family have applied or are applying to immigrate to the United States, or if you have made plans to immigrate to the United States. In this case, there are some cases when students ask about green card. So if you or your family are planning to apply for a green card, or you have applied to the green card, it's okay. In this case, you can apply for the Flex program, but if you have been selected for the green card and you are in the process of immigrating to the US, you have made some plans to immigrate, you are not eligible. So still there are some questions about eligibility, and people ask students and their parents, they usually ask us, the first common question is, why is there an age limit for participation? So the age requirement is due to J-1 visa regulations, which do not permit students older than 18 and a half years to be enrolled in a US high school. So this is basically the reason. Another question is, can I participate if I'm not in the 11th grade? And the answer is no, because your name will be recorded in the system, and applying at the wrong grade level could lead to disqualification. The third common question is that, can I participate if I have already finished school? No, you cannot, because this is one of the main requirements of the program. And we receive some questions about eligibility, like what if I'm not a citizen of Tajikistan, or if I am a citizen but I live abroad. So as I mentioned before, you must be living and studying in Tajikistan in order to apply for the FLEX program. Okay, so students with disabilities, the FLEX program can support the students with disabilities, and we encourage their participation. So if you know any of the students who have disabilities, but they are interested in participating in the FLEX program, and they can demonstrate basic English proficiency, please let them know, please inform them that FLEX is out and they can participate, because we really encourage them to participate. And one of the great examples that we can bring is the Tajik student. This is a real story when one of our Tajik students, he went on program with the FLEX program, and he found new opportunities. He got new leg in Plentywood. So this is one motivating story why students with disabilities should participate in the FLEX program. Okay, so now let's talk about the scholarship itself. So what does the scholarship provide? It provides a round-trip international travel, so from Tajikistan to the US and back home after one academic year. Another aspect is the medical insurance. So the FLEX program does provide medical insurance, but it does not provide pre-existing conditions and dental care. Another aspect of the scholarship is the allowances that students receive. So this basically a stipend of $200, which students can use in order to participate in social activities. They can buy some necessary personal supplies and so on. And of course, the scholarship provides a placement with a selected US host family. So the students will be living in a US American host family for one academic year, and they will be studying in American school, which is provided by the scholarship too. We have a pre-departure orientation, the program orientation activities, which will prepare students to travel to the US. Mostly it is organized before the departure, a month or 2 months before the departure, so the students can be familiar with the process and learn more about the US. And the last aspect is support for alumni as they implement projects in their home communities. So when students go on program and they successfully complete the program, they come back to Tajikistan, they will be a part of the broad alumni community, the FLEX community, and we encourage them to be active, to participate in the community, to implement projects, and just to contribute to their communities. So what is not provided? I went through the list of all of the aspects of the program which is provided and covered by the Flex program, but still there are some things which is not provided. And first of all, it is an international passport. So this is your responsibility to obtain the international passport. Some personal expenses beyond what is covered by the monthly stipend. So if you believe that $200, the monthly stipend that you receive is not enough, and you want to purchase or spend money on something else, this will be your responsibility. Excess baggage costs. So if you travel on program and your bags they exceed the requirement, in this case you will be required to pay the additional cost. And calls made from the US to home or a Skype account. So the rules in this case vary, but in most cases students are they are responsible for their phone usage and for any expenses which are related to phone and internet. Okay, and now let's move on to the recruitment process. So round 1 and round 2. Round 1 is basically the pre-application where you enter your biodata and write 3 essays. And round 2 is an English test. And round 1 has already started. And we will talk more about round 1 in the next slide. Okay, so what you have to do in order to apply to start the process. So you have to register on ACE Forms. Before I explain what ACE Forms is and how to register, I would like to highlight that application for Flex program is online. It was online on August 1st, 2024, and the deadline is October 10th of 2024. So it's been already a month, more than a month, that application is online, but you still have 1 month and about 7 days to start the application and to submit it. So what you have to do, you have to register on ACE Forms. So you have to click the link ace.americancouncils.org/flex. And okay, so when you create a link, you have to register first of all. So you type your login credentials. So it's your login, your password, and you create an account. Then all applicants will need to confirm their email. So you go back to your email, you go to your account, let's say it's Gmail, find this link and just confirm the email. Then you will be able to start the application. So basically on the screen, you can see how application looks like. So there are like 11 parts. What you have to do here, you have to submit your biodata. So it's basically your personal information about yourself. You have to upload a birth certificate or a passport, the 3 to 4 centimeters passport style photo of yourself, and a certificate from the school which confirms that you really study at 11th grade. And when you complete all of this information, like your biodata, you upload documents, then all applicants, they have to copy, write, or paste 3 essays. And essays, they must be written in English. Okay, so round 1 submission. When you finalize when you finalize your application, so you entered your biodata, you uploaded the documents, you wrote three essays, and application is good to go, you can submit it. But when you start your application, from the start of the application to submission, you have only 10 days. So you have to submit 1 form within 10 days. Let's say if you start an application today on September 3rd, you have 10 days, you have until September 13th to submit your application. So it's regardless of the deadline. The deadline is the deadline of Flex application in general for round 1 is October 10th, but when you start your application, you have 10 days in order to submit it. And there is 24-hour grace period after submission. Okay, so you have submitted your round 1 application, and what happens next? Right after, you can submit your round 2 test. It's a short English test, and all applicants who submit round 1 application will be invited to take part in round 2. And round 2 is an online 15-minute test of English. You will receive an invitation to take the test within 24 hours. So when you submit your round 1 application, please check your email during the day. Usually it's like within 5 to 10 minutes, you will receive an invitation to take round 2 test, but up to 24 hours. You have to submit it within 24 hours. So how to access the round 2 exam? So applicants will receive an email invitation to the round 2 English test within 24 hours. And you will receive an access code. Applicants will receive an access code from the email, and it is required. So you can see on the screen that you will click the link from your email, and a screen will appear. It says, please enter your access code and click submit. So you have to enter the access code and click submit. And as soon as you submit, the timer will be on, and you can start your round 2 English test. You will have 15 minutes to take your exam. And there are 12 questions. So how to help students and applicants to troubleshoot the exam? Sometimes students they contact us with these common questions. First of all is the error message. So if you receive an error message, what you should do? Please open the link again in a new window or try a new browser. Sometimes the problem is with the browser, and when you use like Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, sometimes usually there aren't any issues, and you can easily access the link. Access code doesn't work. This is the second the common problem that students ask us about. In this case, please reload the screen and enter the code again. And make sure that you do not copy any spaces. This is very important. Another common problem is losing connection or power during the exam. So students, they contact us and they ask that, well, in Tajikistan, there are some parts of the region where internet is not reliable, or the power is not working. So in this case, you will open the link again, and all your work should be saved. So what you have to do, the work is saved, the clock is stopped, you just open the link again, and you can continue your exam. And the last questions that we get from the students is, the student does not complete the exam within 24 hours. So when you receive an invitation for round 2 on your email, you have 24 hours to take the test. But let's say you missed the deadline, right? You did not complete in 24 hours, or internet did not work well. In this case, a 24-hour grace period, an additional 24-hour, 1 day grace period will be offered. So please use this period in order to take the test. Okay, this was the detailed information about rounds 1 and 2 and how to apply. And now I will tell more about Flex round 3. So as I mentioned, rounds 1 and 2 are online. So everything, application is online, round 2 English test is online. However, Flex round 3 will be completely in person, excluding online application. So for round 3, only semifinalists will be invited. So basically, they are candidates who successfully completed the first 2 rounds, and they will be moved on to round 3. So Flex program round 3 components, it includes 5 components. First of all is online application. So it's a comprehensive application where it's basically you tell about your daily routine, any extracurricular activities you are involved in, your transcript, there are some medical forms that you have to complete. So all of this will be submitted online. And we will do an online natural parent meeting. So all of the semifinalists will be invited to join basically it's a Zoom meeting where the students and their parents are invited, and we will have a meeting to explain more about the third round the third round in general, and explain about notification, departures, and so on. And any questions that may arise from the students or natural parents, we will be addressing and answering. Another components are completely in person, like in-class essay, LTES test, group activity, and interviews. So the recruiting team, which consists of local staff and American staff, American recruiters, will be traveling to the regions. So basically, it's Gabao, we travel to Horog, it's Hatlon, recruiting team travels to Kulob and Bohtar. On the Sogd region, recruiting team travels to Panjakent, to Isfara, to Istaravshan, and Khojand. And the testing will be conducted in Dushanbe. Yes. Did I miss? No. So the main and GARM. Considering DRS, the recruiting team will travel to GARM, and the main testing for Dushanbe students and smaller parts of DRS like Wahdat will come to Dushanbe to take the testing. So first test is in-class essay. So again, students will have 45 minutes to write 3 essays in English, and it will be monitored in person. Students will take an LTES test. It's a comprehensive English test, which consists of reading comprehension and audition. So students will have 1 hour and 30 minutes to complete this test, and it will be monitored too. Then students will have a group activity. So in small groups, students will be assigned a topic, assigned a situation where they will work as a group to conduct this activity. And the last part is interview. So each student individually will take an interview, will go through the interview. So this is basically it about the Flex recruitment and all of the rounds, round 1, round 2, and round 3. With that, I will turn it to Matthew, who will be talking more about how the selection works in DC, in Washington, DC. But if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Please type your questions in chat box, and I will go through the questions and reply after Matthew's presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Farangis. Yes, indeed. So what happens at that point, right? So it's roughly 300 and something, like 330 or so applications are completed by semifinalists from Tajikistan, right? And so all these, Mehri, can we save your questions? We'll do them all, either put them in the chat or we'll call on people when we wrap up. We only have about 5 minutes of talking left, and then we'll answer your questions. So all these application materials are compiled in Washington, D.C., and they are reviewed by an independent panel of different professionals, different volunteers, individuals, some of them can be volunteers that are related to the program in the United States, like they're involved with some of those placement organizations that actually place the students. They could be individuals that have experience in the region, the wider region, right? Because Flex is in a number of countries that are outside of the more immediate area. And these individuals go through and review all the materials. Everything is read at least twice, and then they're sort of adjudicated by a specialized panel of like even more experienced individuals. I think I heard that anybody who's been selected as a finalist on the program, their application has been read by no fewer than 5 individuals, right? So it sort of goes through different levels. Some students don't make it as far along in the process as others, but everyone is read twice. And then what are they looking at? So when those volunteers or those panelists are looking at the applications, they're not just looking at the application, right? That online application that Farangis referred to. They're looking at an interview form that's completed by the recruitment team that went out. They're looking at the essays, and that means all the essays, even the ones that were completed in the first round. They're looking at any references that are provided as part of the application. And so they have all this information, and they consider it as like a package, right? Not just one thing over another, but all of that is read and reviewed, and then they fill out a form and score it under some system. And then based on that, it keeps like moving through the system for additional review. That process takes some time, as you can imagine. In fact, several months with hundreds of people actually reading through them to get through them all. And then ultimately, if we can go to the next slide, it's coming up. Notification happens. So we were very pleasantly surprised because this year notification happened even earlier. They are trying to fast track it. So a lot of, they sort of read everything on a rolling basis. In the old days, they used to sort of wait, get a huge chunk of applications and read through them. Now, as they come through this online system, there are already panelists set up, and that means that we can get notification lists earlier. Now, this year, I think it was the very first week of March, right around there. Traditionally, it's towards the end of March. So, and that's good news. Why? Because that means once students are notified and they give their approval, like they accept the scholarship, then on the US side, lots of things can start to happen, which is most importantly related to those placement organizations looking for host families, right, to place the students. After COVID and then also, you know, sometimes for economic considerations, it's getting more and more challenging to find host families. And so placement organizations want to start as early as possible, even though you sometimes think, well, wait a minute, a student is traveling in September and they were notified in March. I mean, that's quite a span to wait and get ready. But it just takes time to place, you know, hundreds and hundreds of students. There's not just a Flex program. There's a sister program called YES that's from many, many other countries in the world. And so all these students have to be placed. It's close to 2,000, not quite, but like 1,700. So students are notified, and then they basically start working on follow-up aspects on our side. So we say, go get that passport right away. Start filling in all these different sorts of forms. Maybe there was something missing in some of the application forms that weren't important for selection, right? No one looks at the medical form for selection, but later on, okay, for a school placement, we don't quite understand what vaccinations are there and so on. There's also questions from placement organizations, right? So they said, well, on this one form, it says the student, you know, doesn't eat, I don't know, gluten or whatever. What does that mean? Is that like 100%, or is it like, is this possible? So there's lots and lots of follow-up questions. We're also getting ready for the visa application. We're also getting ready for the pre-departure orientation. So it's sort of busy, even though there's this long period to wait. There's an awful lot of paperwork, sometimes far more than you can imagine, to send any one student on the program. Next slide, please. As we mentioned, we run this PDO, this pre-departure orientation, to get our students ready. It's basically no 3-day orientation that we do somewhere outside of Dushanbe. So we bring in all the finalists all at once as a big group. This year we were out in Norak. And we stay out there and, you know, from the moment you wake up until you go exhausted to bed, you're just learning everything you need to know about how to survive in the United States, more or less, right? So what are good ways to approach a host family? What is a U.S. high school all about? What are some of the different expectations you might have? Like, how do you approach that? What is culture shock? So we really go through a very intensive training, but it's very rewarding as well. The group bonds very tightly, and then all get together to prepare themselves for the program. Next slide, please. Now, some of our students, right, because remember, English is important, right? Students are going to go live with a family and go to a school. Obviously, they have to speak English. But nowhere will you see that we say you must be fluent in English or have the most excellent English skills. What happens in the Flex program is you need to reach a base level, right? We say, if you have this much English, you can go on in the competition, right? You just need to pass this test. And then later in round 3, we have the LTIS as well. So it doesn't mean that you have to have perfect English. It means you have to have a basis of English. And sometimes some of our students, they're right at that level. So when the application is reviewed, they're looking for students who will do well on the program, right? Are they mature enough to handle this experience? I mean, it's 10 months away from your family in a new country, in a new culture. Not everyone can handle that, right? And so, but the English is just one aspect of it. We know if you have a basis, once you go to the States, your English will go sky high. And when you come back, you'll be amazingly fluent. I mean, you can hear it with everyone who comes back. But those students who are right at that cutoff line, they have all the other factors that show that they'll be a good student. We trust that they will be able to manage this experience, but they don't quite have the English to maybe jump straight into a U.S. high school. So we offer an intensive language program for those students. It's hosted in Moldova because actually American Councils runs a fairly large language center there. And so they have the whole capacity to run this program. And every year, students from Tajikistan are there. We had this year 2, I believe, right? And sometimes it's a bit more. It just really depends. And so they have 1 month of intensive English training every day for 30 days. They're learning about that. They're also going through the PDO at the same time. So we take the opportunity to do both. And so that's a support for the program. Those students are typically also given additional language training in the United States by the placement organizations. Now, some students get that language program in the United States without the Moldova program. So they have maybe slightly better English, but still not quite, great. So we want to make sure they do well, because the last thing you need to do is be thrown into an American history class and not have a clue what's going on and then get super frustrated and all that. So there's different aspects that they help with language training, Moldova being one of them. Next slide, please. Okay, of course, all the students depart. That basically happens in August with a last flight very, very early in September. So like I said, we have last one happening this weekend. Students fly as a group all the way to Washington, D.C. And then from Washington, D.C., well, typically, just the way U.S. Airlines work, they'll go to some hub city. So small groups might go to Chicago or might go down to Atlanta and then connect. But ultimately, most students will end up flying somewhere, alone in the end. But, there's a host family waiting on the other side, so it's not so scary. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then we always wrap up. That's all the facts, right? There's an awful lot. We know we cover a lot about the program, about that application. It is a daunting process. But the ultimate question is Flex right for a student, right? And it's important to understand certain things. So the first thing that's reiterated again and again is that it really is a cultural exchange program. So it's not an academic program. It's not for that person who says, I want to go because I want to apply to go to a U.S. university and get a scholarship. Academics is the only reason I'm going. I want to get straight A's in all these advanced placement classes in my high school. I don't need friends. I need to get into Harvard. This program's not for you. And if a student actually had that goal and really tried to do it, probably they're going to have problems and maybe even be sent home, because that's not the point of the program, right? So you can do well academically. No one's going to stop you. And it's expected that you do, at least good. So B level and above. But it's not the point of the program. The program really is to get out there and meet people and to experience life there and to share about your own culture. And so that's that second point, right? You're also engaged with your host community. So not just the family and the school, but really getting out there, volunteering, right? To meet people, to experience things, to learn more about the culture. And then, you know, these things that are not a good fit, they're usually related to academics. So we do have a number of students who really treat this as a way to get into a US university. It doesn't work. Or in some countries, probably not so much here, they're worried about their entrance exam at universities. And so they study really hard. So they try to do their US high school and then do everything that they need to pass some kind of university entrance exam. So again, it's not an academic program. And just the last one is really, it's sometimes hard to judge, right? Can you live so far away from your home and your family? Some people really, they think they can up until the moment they get somewhere. And then they say, oh my God, what does this mean? And they're terrified and they can't make it. So it's so much better because you lose that spot and that scholarship, you know, is not given to someone else. It's just lost. So people really need to think like, you know, as an individual, as a 17-year-old, like, do I have what it takes to be away from home? Really? It's easy to do it when you're sitting in your living room talking to your mom and father, right? But can you do it when you're actually on that airplane? Farangis, next slide. There. Oh, it's just a happy photo. Hurrah. Okay, there we go. So that's at one of our pre-departure orientations. So you can reach out to us. I think the very next slide, yeah, has some contact information. You can go to our website. You can look for our Instagram. You know, there's our address if you want to stop by. Our email address to be in touch with us. So do reach out if you have any questions, however it works easiest for you, even by phone. We're more than happy to answer questions or answer questions of your students. We do run a number of these sort of outreach events, many of them online, many of them hosted by American Spaces and run by some of our esteemed Flex alumni. They always love to go out and talk about the program. So we do encourage you to send students or others to learn more wherever you might see an opportunity. At this point, you can go ahead and pop in questions into the chat, or we can just open it up for a few minutes that we have left. If there's a lot of them, if you're a crowd, raise your hand, but if not, just speak up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Matthew and Farangis. That was really informative and also just, extended about what is expected, in each stage of Flex program. That was really great. Thank you so much, dear audience. So please, you can unmute yourself or just put your questions in the chat box. And Farangis, I guess like you already, responded to some of the questions in the chat box. Which is great. If there's some questions left.
I can answer this one if you
please.
don't mind, Nasiba. I see does this program select students from villages? Yes, indeed we do. So the program tries to have a very broad selection, right, to make sure that students are coming from all regions. And including some from very small villages or very remote rural areas, let's say. So this year we were sort of super excited because we had one student from Hovaling, and I think it's our first student from Hovaling. And, and I had to look at my map. It's on the wall next to me to try to figure out where that was exactly. So she's in the United States right now, diligently picking up her English and getting involved with her school and family. But yeah, they're from everywhere. So it's not, again, because it's not just looking at those students who speak the best English. So it's not like centered on, let's say, Dushanbe, right? So of course, we see when we do the interviews, okay, we can run interviews in English for a large percentage of students in Dushanbe. By the way, the interviews are conducted mostly in the native language, whether that be Tajik or Russian, but some students just prefer to do English and they can do English, so that's also fine. But yes, we do select from everywhere. Next question was, how does the program match participants with suitable host families and what factors are considered in this process? Primarily there, it's they're looking at when they're actually looking, here's a candidate and looking for families. A lot of it has to do with, well, what the host family is also expecting, right? So they might have certain expectations because of the dynamic in their home. But also it's looking at interests, right? So one of the forms in the application is all about your interests. Like, what do you do in your free time? What sports do you play? What hobbies do you have? And as we tell all students, be honest, right? Because that form later, it's not really used for selection purposes. It's used for placement purposes later for those who get selected. And if someone puts on their form, oh, you know, I love to paraglide and I paraglide, you know, every week, and they don't even know what paragliding is, and they go to a host family and that's what they do every weekend, well, you know, it's very awkward. So a lot of times it's based on that. Other things are just sort of random, right? You know, so every placement organization will get an equal number of students that are male or female or from this region or that region. But in this aspect, they do look at the interest form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. That was fantastic, Matthew. Yeah, and dear all, please encourage, like, you know, your students, because most of those who are participating today, they are access teachers. Please encourage your students to grab this opportunity, because this is really transformative program, and all those who participate in this program, they truly become leaders in their communities. My daughter is just the same. As an example of this program, she also participated, and right now she's quite, like, you know, quite confident about what she wants in the future, and she's, like, you know, pushing herself, like, you know, to reach her horizons, and also just to expand her outlook by traveling to different countries and also studying abroad. So please go ahead and grab this wonderful opportunity. Yeah, and of course, like, you know, all those who missed today's webinar, don't get terrified, because like you will be able to see and to watch this webinar on our Facebook page. It will be there. You can watch it with your students, and also just clarify some points of today's webinar to them, and of course, like that's it for today. And of course, the deadline, which already mentioned by Farangis, please don't miss those deadlines, and encourage your students to participate in this program. Once again, thank you so much, dear Matthew, Farangis, and all those great teachers and students who participated in today's webinar. Yeah, we wish you good luck, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Nasiba. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nasiba. Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you so much for being and promoting this program in Tajikistan. That is really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.